Welcome to Spotlight on Schools. We focus on the Rochester City School District, and I'm your host, Jim Strauss. This is our second program profiling the Boys Academy at School Number 9. Again, our guests are Mr. Bernice Green, Assistant Principal of School Number 9 and the founder of the Boys Academy, and Mrs. Shannon Costanzo, one of the lead teachers at the Academy. Welcome again to Spotlight on Schools. Mr. Green, last week you said that several years ago the same 15 boys were being referred for disciplinary reasons to your office over and over. They were accounting for 70% of your referrals. And out of that came your inspiration, first of all, for the boys group and then the Boys Academy within School Number 9. Can you recap for us, maybe in a minute or so, what the Boys Academy is?
The Boys Academy is a place where young men come to school, they feel good about themselves, they have an opportunity to share their thoughts. It's a structured place where their day is structured and they love it. They love being in school. They have developed a sense of belonging in their school. And it's a place where the teachers I enjoy teaching these young men, and I'm excited about what's to come through this Boys Academy.
Okay, and it essentially is a school for boys within a school.
Yes.
Okay, Mrs. Costanzo.
Yes.
What is your role?
My role is I'm a response to intervention teacher, so I work with small groups of boys that need extra help in literacy or math, but I also run a coping powers group. Several coping power groups. That's boys who need that extra social emotional help, and we use a program called Coping Powers, where they really get to write their own weekly goals and be able to maintain their own weekly goals, and they really target in on the behaviors they need to improve to make them successful academically in school.
Now, do you continue to work on peer mediation?
Yes,
Okay.
Peer mediation is still, the boys that have been trained have been called upon this year to do peer mediations.
Okay, we went to Mrs. Costanzo's room at School Number 9, and we talked in more detail about how carefully we track those kids.
This is the daily behavior chart, and every morning we line up in the hallway, and the boys are required to give us if they have their uniform, if they've had their behavior from the night before, and if they have their homework in. We keep track of those points, and at the end of the year we tally them all up to see a percentage, and we take that percentage each marking period. So each marking period will be a tally of what that individual student's percentage is. We also track them academically, so it is required for the BAS test, which is a reading test, to be given 3 times a year. And what we do is we keep track of their independent score and their instructional score, and then we keep it in a common place so that the teachers have it, but we also have a copy of it so that we can look as support staff and see, wait a second, Christian hasn't moved up, for an example. He hasn't moved up. What can we do to help him? What's being done to help him? How can we move him along? This is the action research report that we did last year. So we as a team, as a Boys Academy team, participated in an action research report where we took data that we collected all year to come up with a report to really see if Boys Academy was working in all areas, academic areas, behavior areas. So what we did was at the end of the year we put all that data together into the action research, and we were able to compile what their end of the year percentages were for uniform, for homework, and for behavior. Homework directly correlates with their academic performance, because if they're not doing the homework at home, they're not getting that extra support that they need, and we need to target, why aren't you doing your homework at home? And then we also have the NWEA data. This comes right from it's right computer based. It tells us where they were in the fall, where they were in the spring. They did well. In this classroom right here, the average growth point was 3 points, which what we did was we took the projected growth and we took what they grew, and they still were able to come out a +3 growth. Coping Powers is, in addition to what the classroom's doing, PATHS is a social emotional group that are a social emotional program that the whole school is supposed to be. It talks about feelings, how to deal with your feelings, and they start from kindergarten all the way up. And that's the expectation of every classroom. We've targeted boys who need a little bit more than that. And we were given a grant to use Coping Powers materials. So I was trained to be a Coping Powers teacher, and they get their own individual workbooks. The boys that are part of Coping Powers write their own individual goals. And then the teachers write yes or no, and then the boys earn points. In Coping Powers, we talk about, well, some of the groups, we established our own rituals and routines, and some of the groups wanted to just have the first 3 minutes just talk about their feeling, talk about how they're feeling about their classroom, talk about things that might have happened at home or stuff. So we start with that, and then there's a lesson. The lesson could be anything from how to do homework at home, what are good study skill strategies, to how to make a friend and how to be a good friend. So it's a broad spectrum of things to cover, and it's a great program, or it's been a great program. The boys love coming, and I think it's just that extra support. And since we're all on board with it, it's that terminology like, did you meet your goal? We also talk about the PIC model, which is a problem-solving model, where they identify the problem, they say the problem, they identify what kind of problem it is, they have choices, and each choice they have a consequence. And we practice that over and over with different scenarios so that they know you could make that choice, but from that choice you get a consequence. And consequences are always not negative, some are positive consequences. But if you don't think it over before you make your choice, then it's impulsive. And that usually is a negative consequence. So peer mediation is a program that in 2006, I started at number 9 school after being trained. And after convincing some people who maybe didn't think it was going to work that 2 kids can solve a problem. No, that's not. That peers can help kids solve their problem instead of a teacher always being involved. Peer mediation is directly kids helping other kids solve their problems. They're peer mediators. They're the ones doing it. It's not, I don't do anything once they come in here. I just sit back, make sure there's no fighting, no anything where an adult needs to step in. What they do is they come in and they have a script. There's 2 mediators at a time when they come in, mediator 1 and mediator 2. They go over the script. They have to, the kids that are being mediated have to come in and make sure they agree to the rules. If they don't agree to the rules, that's where I come in. Then they're not ready to do a mediation. Then they get that negative consequence. So we like to do peer mediation. Sometimes you'll hear the boy saying, I need a mediation with Tyshawn. And then we can have them talk about the problem before it escalates into already becoming a fight. So it's been powerful. It's been here since 2006. Usually, I used to train a group of kids that the teachers gave me names of who they thought were good leaders. And then when boys group started, I chose to train all the boys that were in boys group because they had such powerful leadership skills. We wanted them to use those leadership skills in a positive way. We haven't had any big, huge mediations. Usually it's like fighting or calling names or tripping, and where they just haven't talked to each other to figure out they didn't really mean to trip you. Someone pushed him, and like it's interesting to see how the things unravel when they talk to each other.
Can you tell us what the results of your program has been in that last year and this year so far as educational gains?
We were able to see a lot of educational gains within BAS scores, which are reading tests that they take. The NWEA scores were also going up. And we
those
noticed,
what test is that?
That's a computer test that will test on reading skills as well as math skills.
Okay.
We looked at all the New York State testing, and I what I did when the New York State test, and I took all that data home, and we were able to put if they increased or decreased from the year before, and then we were able to target those boys that decreased and kind of have a debriefing of why we think the decrease happened. Sometimes it is still behavioral stuff, like testing. There's a lot of boys in the Boys Academy testing is just very, very stressful time for them. So we were able to weed out, is it academics or is it the test structure? If it's the test structure, now we have strategies to deal with it.
Did you want to add to that?
Yeah. One of the things when it comes to success, academic success, we had young men who had a history of not even completing their state exam. They would go in, they'd look at the state exam, I don't want to do this, I'm not doing this. Last year, every young man worked hard. They went through, they sat there, they gave it their best, which is a total turnaround from what they were used to doing. So I do understand, and I do believe that as they continue to grow, as they continue to understand the importance of what they're doing, you're going to see those test scores begin to increase. So this year, we started the Boys Academy with 80 boys. Last year, our first year, we started with 80 boys. This year, we increased that to 120 boys this year because we added on our 7th graders.
That's a lot of boys. Well, let's talk about one. A short while ago, I had the opportunity to talk with one of your success stories, a young man named Christopher Hunter and his grandmother. Yeah. Apparently, he had been a handful before.
Yeah, he was a handful. Yes, yes, that's a good way of putting it.
A handful.
All right. Yeah.
Okay, you don't want to be more specific than that. Okay, I had a chance to talk to him, and this is the interview.
I'm 11 years old, and I've been coming to this school since I was in 1st grade, and now I'm in 6th grade. When I came in 4th grade, I started getting in trouble a lot. Because I thought school was a game. I'd like to play around, and then that's when I used to go to Mr. Green a lot. So they put me in the Boys Academy.
When you say playing around, what do you mean?
Horse playing, hitting people, running around. Sometimes I'll get in fights, argue with the teacher.
Mrs. Hunter, was that kind of thing happening at home as well?
Oh, yeah. He was acting up. I was getting phone calls from school, in school suspension every day. It was driving me crazy. He's also rebellious at home, just cutting up.
Now, you have more than one child that you're caring for, am I right?
Yes, we have 2 more. I have 2 more grandchildren, his brothers, Krishan and Christian. They also go to school here.
Now, how are you trying to deal with this at home?
Well, he was setting a bad example for his brothers because they was doing what he was doing. And I kept telling him, Christopher, you can't keep doing this because they watching what you're doing. And they going to think it's okay, so they going to do it too.
Did you feel sort of helpless?
Helpless, yes. I felt helpless. It was hard. It's hard trying to raise 3 grandchildren, And they're young and they got more energy than you do. So.
Going through school, it was a lot of trouble in ATS, in school suspension. Felt like jail to me.
So was your schoolwork suffering?
Schoolwork? Yeah. My grades were getting real bad. Until I got in the Boys Academy, my grades started lifting up.
So when you got into the Boys Academy, was that hard at first?
It was hard to change the behavior that you already got used to, but then I changed it because Mr. Green showed me examples of being good, so that I learned from him to change my actions.
He stopped getting suspended. The phone calls stopped. He started doing his homework. I didn't have to ask him to do it. He'd come home and do it. You could see the respect. You could see him telling his brothers, them, don't do that. Do what grandma say. So I saw a lot of changes. No talking back. And he just reminded me the other day, as a matter of fact, Sean was doing something. That's the baby. And he said, "Why is Sean doing that?" I said, "Because he's learning from you." He said, "Well, that's the old Chris. I'm a new Chris now. That's not me." So, but when I saw these changes that the academy had did, and another thing, children, when you got rules, it goes a long ways. In the academy, you got rules. At first, he didn't like wearing uniforms, but he saw what come with the uniforms: good things, discipline, respect. All those things come with that, and you get rewarded in the end. They get rewards. They go places. They do things. It's wonderful.
Where did you see him heading if he hadn't have found this boys' academy? If the boys' academy hadn't have found him?
Oh, all the anger. It was scary to think about that. I could have lost him. Could have got in trouble. Could have wind up in jail. Could have wind up in the graveyard. Who knows? Who knows?
Now to be a role model, it feels good. Feels like I've done the right thing. To go this long way and be a role model and do something with it's just nice.
I am so proud. I am so proud. It just fills me up. No one knows. It's been real hard, but in the end, all of this, I tell you, the academy is the best thing that ever happened to number 9. People used to get number 9 a bad name. Now everybody wants to get in number 9. They standing in line, they on waiting list to get into the academy. But the academy is very good, very good. And I'm very proud of Christopher. He's learning and experiencing something new every day. Every day.
Christopher looks so innocent now.
All right.
What's your reaction?
I'm gonna let Ms. Cassandra
Okay,
talk
let
about
me
this.
finish that question then. You look so innocent now. In your opinion, what was it that caused him to change?
Christopher needed to learn how to handle his anger. So when he got angry, he needed other outlets than to just fight. He needed ways to be able to cope with his anger, talk about what was bothering him. Christopher's family history, he's gone through a lot for a young boy. So he needed a place to go and belong, people to talk to. I know that, like, he would call me at home, or his brother would call at home, like, they needed a place to feel like they belonged, and he needed some strategies to help him understand that you don't just have to fight every time someone says something. And he had some triggers that the boys knew he had, and so they would always say those things to him, and that would cause a reaction.
Both he and his grandmother give each of you very personal credit for that. You would say that it isn't, I mean, it is a strength of your personality. It's just, teachers and administrators doing work every day. But you say you taught them strategies. You would say what? It's more than strategies.
I'll say Christopher began to experience positive results when when Christopher began to see, when I make good choices, good things happen for me. And so by providing those good things that he could see, for example, like Ms. Cassandra talked about the 100% Club, and he began to work towards that. He began to become successful with that. Christopher is very, very smart. He's a very smart young man. And when he began to see academic success and all of these different successes that was happening for him, Christopher began to think like, oh, this is pretty cool, you know? And so when providing that way through Ms. Costanzo, providing that opportunity for him to deal with that anger and then begin to see those successes. Christopher is very smart. He put it all together. And he said, listen, if I can control this and then I can do good in my math and my reading, he began to put it all together and say, you know what, I kind of like this.
Yeah.
And so now he's enjoying school. He's enjoying the successes. And he works towards those successes. Instead of acting out now, he said, there's a different way. And so I think he's making better choices because he's experiencing those successes throughout.
And
Okay.
I just wanted to add, I'm sorry, before, it's not only the extrinsic reward anymore, it's not getting something for behaving, it's
That's
that
right.
he's disappointed in himself when he doesn't behave. So he's gone from, okay, I want to make 100% club, to where he has pride in himself now, where he wants to make it because, not because we're going to the gym, but because he's proud of himself for making it. And that is a big shift that a lot of the boys have made, where it's not anymore just the extrinsic. Now they're feeling good inside themselves. They want to be proud of themselves.
Well, I'd like to get a little more general now. I want to talk about a quote that Bolgan Vargas made in that article in the Democrat and Chronicle. He said this: "We have to be careful not to declare victory too soon." He's talking about the Boys Academy. He said, are you prepared to declare, no, my question to you is, are you prepared to declare that the Boys Academy works in the lives of kids? He says, wait a minute. In fact, let me read you this quote. I read it to you about a month ago, and I remember your reaction. Oh, let me find it. Oh, he says, I'll be watching to see how the program evolves over time and to analyze data once results can be more clearly measured. When I read this to both of you, you immediately interpret that as test scores.
Yes. You want to respond first?
Just
go
as far as test scores go, I mean, growth within yourself is what is really important, and test scores are, it's a day. I mean, it comes down to one day when you're taking one test, and there's been situations where I know when the boys are coming in, they had a bad night. It's not, we've tried to celebrate it. We provided breakfast last year because we don't want test day to be something negative. We want to be a positive day where you show how smart you are. You go show everyone how smart you are, and we're trying to change that feeling that it's such a stressful time of the year, where it can be a welcoming time of the year. Now's your chance to show how smart you are. So when it comes to the test scores, yes, they have to improve. Academically, we're working really hard. We're really trying to move the kids along who are struggling. But I often say, when you have kids who started academically really, really low, you can't get really, really high. You got to work yourself up that ladder to get where you need to be, and it's a process. It's not just going to happen overnight.
It's no secret that our young men are not graduating. They're not graduating from high school. And we're not going to change that until we understand the full student, the well-rounded student. And you're not going to go from a young man who don't care about education, don't care if he's in school, don't have a sense of belonging in their school, a young man that, whatever issues they're having at home, you're not going to increase our graduation rate until we deal with those issues. And so when we talk about the successes to see if something is working, we are going to get there. They will get better academically. Their test scores will increase. I have no doubt. But that's not going to happen overnight, because we have to begin to develop that foundation with each one of those young men. And when we do that, when we change their thought processes about education, when we understand where they're coming from, how they learn, when we understand all of those different things, That's how we're going to see our graduation go up. That's how we're going to see these New York State assessment increase, improve. But we have to start there. We have to start with that foundation and begin to develop that structure that our young men need. And so if the superintendent will support what we're trying to do as far as building that foundation with our young men, I have no doubt that once that's done, you're going to see these young men soar.
We're out of time. I want to thank you both so much. We've been talking with Bernice Green, the vice principal of school number 9 and founder of the Boys Academy, and Mrs. Shannon Costanzo, lead teacher at the Boys Academy. Thank you both for being here. Please tune in next month for another edition of Spotlight on Schools. Good night.
When's your first one have a picture of
Council of the Boys Academy, step forward, please, up here with me. Over here with me, please. I want to announce the representatives from our 3rd grade class is going to be, our 3rd grade class is going to be Josiah Bartlett. Step forward, get up. Josiah Bartlett. All right. For 4th grade, it's going to be Jose Ramos.
Going on, so could we do the pledge one more time and just
Begin. Anything else, classroom teachers? You don't have. I will have a good day. Think. Turn. Start your day. Enjoy your day. Congratulations, man. Good work.